If you have a credit card, just try this when you go home. Just call them and say you're looking to cancel or balance transfer or want to know what the deals are. They're going to move you to the retention department, and the retention department only thinks about one thing. You're leaving because you can't afford it and someone else gave you a better deal. And they will almost always, within moments, lower your interest rate. Okay, there's 3 more I's I'm just going to briefly cover. One is interest. If you have more than one loan, the likelihood of you overpaying interest on that loan is 80%. All loans are negotiable, so make sure you've structured them properly. There's 4 C's that will help you structure these loans properly. Remember, there's 4 I's that help you win and play of keeping more of what you make. The first is the IRS, the second one is interest that we're talking about, and now I'm talking about 4 C's because I like alliteration and I'm trying to make it really sticky and memorable. The first C is your credit score. Get a credit score in the US of over 780, you have the world at your hands. The second C is collateral. If you have a paid off car, that paid off car could be refinanced to pay off credit cards or higher interest rate loans because it's got collateral attached to it. So credit, the second thing would be collateral. The third C is credit reporting, like cash flow reporting. What does your cash flow statements look like? We had someone that was donating $200,000 to their church, and they were actually putting it as an education expense. And I was like, well, guess what? That just lowers everything for you to go get a loan. If we classify it as a charitable donation, it doesn't count against the loan. And they went from a 6.5% interest rate on buying a building to a 4.17% interest rate with that one small change. You've got to look good to the bank, right? The next one is connections. Just the right connections. There's certain lenders that are really good with certain things and not good with other things. So if you have a credit card, just try this when you go home. Just call them and say you're looking to cancel or balance transfer or want to know what the deals are. They're going to move you to the retention department, and the retention department only thinks about one thing. You're leaving because you can't afford it and someone else gave you a better deal. And they will almost always, within moments, lower your interest rate. One phone call. We've had people do this. To my surprise, I actually had this guy, Kevin, from Arlington, Washington, call to see if he could renegotiate his second mortgage rate. And this was at a time when Seattle had really gone down in value massively with their real estate market. And when he talked to them, they actually just told him, they go, if you'll give us 10 cents on the dollar, we'll just consider it good. Now, that doesn't happen all the time. But what does happen a lot of the time is if you have equity, you've been paying on time, you have a good credit score, you could do a streamline refinance on your major things. A streamline means you stay with the same institution. You don't have to do all the documentation. You don't have to pay all the different fees. Look, I just want you guys to watch. She just gave me a nod the whole time, and she's in the financial world saying, yes, yes, yes. So Ryan's giving me the nod, you give me the nod. I'm feeling really good today. Feeling really good. It's a good day. So streamline refinance, we had this guy, Jason, out of Nevada. He actually wasn't going to call to negotiate or say anything. I made a bet with him. He called, he lowered his mortgage payment $751, and he stayed with the same bank because they know you have options when you've got your 4 C's aligned, okay? Now, the average improvement when people have cash flow optimization, which is a deeper conversation here, is $2,484 per $250,000 of revenue per month that shows up into their life. This is just win and play, keeping a lot more money by getting a little bit of financial savvy. The third I is investment. We won't spend a lot of time on investment. I want to have a quick, important paradigm shift around it. The next time you hear about percentages in investments, I want you to calculate the impact of the percentages. So let's say somehow through a major miracle, you could get 10% a year every year for 30 years. It never happens that way, but people present it that way a lot of times. So if you have 100 grand, you wait for 30 years, because didn't Einstein say that compound interest is a miracle or the 8th wonder of the world? Anyone ever heard that? That's a lie. I decided to do the research. He was in Austria, and at this conference, he said compounding numbers was the 8th wonder of the world. Security National Life said compounding interest. Tomato, tomato, like let's just misquote. But compound interest is a miracle that we think that it's going to save us, because 30 years from now, we have no clue what's going on. And when people tell you it takes money to make money, it takes your money for them to make money, right? So 100 grand earning 10% for 30 years grows to 1.74 million. Sounds awesome. But what if you had legal fees, admin fees, 12B1 fees, all these different fees that were non-performing, not paying for the manager, not paying for the analyst, just paying for like things that you could actually eliminate if you had the right institution? That 9.2% means 100 grand only grows to 1.4 million. That's $340,000 confiscated from your life. And I want to put it back in your pocket, by the way, not just, it didn't actually leave yet, right? We want to find those things. So the other thing is the stock market is so highly valued right now at a place that we've never seen in any time in history, and we're at the second longest run in history since we've seen a recession. So make sure you have downside protection. Learn about something called a trailing stop loss. A trailing stop loss. Because then you can make sure that you don't participate on the full downside and you're not sitting there exposed. Fourth I. First I was what? IRS. Second I? Third I? And then the fourth I is our favorite topic of all time, insurance. How excited. Now, by the way, I've never found anyone that hates insurance. I just find people that hate paying for insurance. So, and I just wish we could buy insurance like after something happened, right? Like I get in a car wreck, I buy the right amount of insurance. You know, that would be ideal. But insurance is one of the, I don't know, here's what's messed up about it. Like I'm letting you know a secret, you already know it, but you can only get insurance if you don't need it. That's the only time you can get it. If you need it, you're like, I got the AIDS, I really need it. They're like, sorry, you're dying, right? Like you can only get insurance when you don't need it. So let's make sure you don't have duplicate coverages or improper structure. And this is worth writing down because it took me like 20 years to figure out. Only insure the catastrophic, never the inconsequential. Inconsequential means you can sleep at night not having coverage on that, and the next day if it happens, you can write a check and you didn't lose any sleep. There was no infringement upon your peace of mind. That usually means low deductibles aren't the most efficient thing to do. Short-term disability policies versus long-term. Short-term you can get rid of if you have enough liquidity. Like there's all these things that can save you a whole boatload of money. Investigate umbrella policies. You can get a bunch of coverage with an umbrella and lower the price on your other policies. And you'll actually end up like the best one that I ever did. We got someone $9 million more of liability coverage and saved him $250 a year. Now $250 isn't a lot of money, but $9 million of coverage is a game changer, and they stayed with the same company. It wasn't like who had the cutest commercial. You know, because like these insurance companies are beating the beer commercials these days. Like they've got relatively funny, cutesy commercials, you know. Is it the Geico, the Gecko? I don't even know what the hell they are. Is it the Caveman? But the bottom line is they're making a boatload of money because of improper structure. So look at your deductibles, get rid of anything inconsequential, only insure the catastrophic, because the catastrophic is what harms your legacy. All right, so that's the 4 I's. Got them? We good? Save some tax for anyone yet? Like, we got some tax ideas you can implement, whether it's paying your kids, having the right corporate structure. And by the way, if you're unincorporated, you're overpaying tax and you have a 400% higher chance of being audited. So incorporate. And if your accountant told you not to incorporate, they're not an attorney. The attorneys help you incorporate, the accountants help you with your deductions. The attorneys help you reclassify income, the accountants either file taxes or they are tax strategists that help you with your deductions, okay? We doing all right? Cool. All right. I'm gonna make a bold statement. If you think you have a money problem, it's never actually a money problem. First way to prove that is if you can write a check and it goes away, not a problem. Right? Anyone in here want more financial capital, by the way? Show of hands. If you don't raise your hand, you have to stop listening right now, because this is I'm about to show the magic formula here. Like, I remember when I really got clear about this, I was doing a radio show, and I brought on this guest. His name's Rich Christensen. He had written a book called Bootstrap Business, Zigzag Principle, Toes Turn Purple. Brilliant guy. But I want to be entertaining on radio, and he's in person, in studio, and he said that he had started a business when he wrote Bootstrap Business for less than $5,000. They were documenting it in the book, and they were going to sell it for multiple millions, and they just sold it for multiple millions, and he proved out the concepts of the book, and he said, with nothing but $5,000. And on air, I said, you're a liar, which he's a Mormon. He doesn't like being called a liar, you know? So he gets really red in the face. He's super pissed, and for dramatic, I just stay with the pause. And I'm like, and when I thought he might punch me, I finally go, well, let's go through this really quick. Who was your first client? And he said, What do you mean? I'm like, well, just tell me who your first client was. This is a brand new startup business. He goes, Sean Combs. I'm like, oh, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, like rapper, Sean Combs? He's like, yeah. I'm like, a startup business, got his business. He goes, well, I had this business before that I was doing. I'm like, oh, so maybe I have a point here. See, where most wealth is unrecognized, unutilized, and where you store the most equity in the world is something called relationship capital. Relationship capital are people, networks, organizations, subscribers, clients, family, friends. Like, relationship capital is absolutely key. It's the main key to wealth, yet most people that are contributors like you are really good at contributing, not so good at receiving. Like if I went through, before you knew who I was, and I asked you, hey, what can I do to support your business? Most people would say, I'm good. Because we're just busy, right? We don't think about these kind of things. But think about when you support or help someone, do you feel more or less bonded to them? More or less connected to them? So you have so much that's available to you just in relationship capital. And Ryan says it's not about the resources you have, it's about being resourceful. This is the resourceful equation. This is the impact equation and the value equation, because in the world of cause and effect, value creation is at the cause and dollars are the effect. More simply said, dollars follow value. So we're going to test this equation as I unveil it. We're going to give you a sheet right now. It's called the cash flow starter kit. We're going to see how to put this into action, right? Now, the other part of this equation is mental capital. Have you ever heard it's not what you know, but who you know? That's a lie, because if you know nothing, no one wants to hang out with you. And I was like, oh, you bring nothing to the table, please show up. Let us teach you everything while you bring nothing back, right? So mental capital is our ideas, innovation, insights, human ingenuity. It's all these kind of like, it's our strategies, it's our concepts. And see, the bridge between mental and relationship capital is what I would say is business. The game of business is how do you deliver your mental capital to people through solving problems, serving others, and delivering that value. And as a byproduct of that, you make money. So it doesn't take money to make money, it takes value creation to make money. So this is the problem in the world of finance. No matter how hard you work, no matter how great your relationships are, if you don't have the right financial insight, the right financial team, the right financial structure, that could all go away to taxes, to interest, to mistakes. Anyone else in here other than me made a financial mistake before? Like I got really good early on in my career thinking I was Midas. Someone told me I was financial Einstein, and the problem was I believed it. So my very first real estate deal that I had nothing to do with the deal, I just had 25 grand that I gave my brother-in-law. And he gave me back in 3 months 50 grand. If you annualize that, that's a 400% return. Then the second deal my buddy Joel brought me, we put no money down on the deal. We bought it because his friend was going to lose the home and had just got a new job, and then I helped him repair his credit. And after 2 years, we sold it back to him, and I walked away with 90 grand. I might as well be the kid that goes to Vegas and wins the first game of poker, and now I'm going to be a professional, right? See, because we all have something called investor DNA. Your investor DNA is your core values, your core competencies, it's your core drivers, and you focus instead of diversify. You focus on things you know because it's how do you become the best investor? There's no such thing as a great investment, there's great investors. And if you get into something that makes money and you don't know how or why, it's dangerous. It's seductive. So it's actually the best investors, according to Warren Buffett, are the people that say no a lot more often. Because they say no to everything unless it perfectly aligns with their knowledge and their investor DNA, because there's risky investors, not risky investments, right? So the more mental capital you have, see, I was leveraging financial capital. I was borrowing money from a bank to buy real estate, and then all of a sudden when the real estate went down, I'm still stuck with the real estate, but I have a bill. The best thing to leverage is mental and relationship capital. Like if you could just save the tax because you have the insight, or you have the team that does this, think about what that does to your financial capital. We all know in business, we've heard it over and over again. How important is it having an A team in business? I mean, IBM said it was a 5,200% difference when you hire an A-teamer versus anything less in production. Or Steve Jobs said it was a 99-to-1 advantage if he hired an A-teamer. He said, if I went and bought, and this is so old because it's from the Titans of Technology recorded in the 90s, And it was then re-put out on the Lost Tapes of Netflix, is what the series was called. But they showed the whole interview, and he said, hey, if I bought the best CD player versus the second best, it's hardly something you can tell the difference. He said, but if I got the very best employee versus someone that was second best, he goes, it was my strategic advantage in building wealth because I got a 99-to-1 return. So we know that in business, but what about our finances? If we're so busy working and playing offense, if we don't have the defense that says, how do we keep more of what we make? Then you get stuck in the playing to win, which is highly risky. I'm yelling again. There I am, So I want to have a bit of an experiment with this equation. Does this make sense? Mental capital times relationship capital equals our financial capital. So I'll write it more clearly. Mental capital times relationship capital equals financial capital. Which means if you have a money problem, that's the symptom of a mental or relationship capital issue. It's just a symptom. Either you have the wrong knowledge, misinformation, myths, missteps, or you're spending time with a-holes. I have a really easy strategy with relationships. 3 categories. Friends, I invite them into my life. I say yes to their invitations. I do business with them. Friendly, I say no to every invitation in the most polite way. I share nothing important in my life with them, and I never invite them to anything. And then buddies. I love hanging out with them, but I'm sure not doing business with them, right? So just having that avoids a lot of drama and conflict, and it reserves the time for the things that help me most in life, because I'm really considering, how do I add value to people's lives? How do I make deposits into relationship capital with people that want to make deposits back? If you've read the book Give and Take, it's so phenomenal on that concept. It says there's givers and takers in the world. Guess who's at the bottom? The givers. Guess who's at the top? The givers. The takers are in the middle. There's a difference between givers that truly succeed and givers that get taken advantage of. And when you have that key distinction of what it takes to build relationship capital, it has reciprocity, and you're spending time with the right individuals. So if you have an accountant that tells you they're conservative, they don't meet with you proactively, and they just tell you, oh, a big bill, that is a taker relationship. You're paying them and not getting the value in return, and it's destroying your financial capital. It's the wrong relationship capital. If you have a notion in your head that it's all about budgeting and scrimping and sacrificing and delaying and deferring and eliminating, you have the wrong mindset in order to have true wealth.